come back.
Okay.
Samir, can you help?
Yep.
Talk to him. Yeah. Please go ahead with the next question.
Okay, I have one more question on to Samir Kulkarni on Sandeep Kulkarni on the particle size analysis and the microscopy that he spoke about. That's again a very good technique and very fast. But as you know that we have been using the laser particle size analysis in the laboratories, and it's always difficult to correlate the particle size generated on a two-dimensional basis by microscope and the three-dimensional measurement that particle size analyzer, the laser instruments given. So how would you say that these instruments or these techniques can be correlated to get a meaningful information?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajiv. This is always an ongoing discussion, and there is always a debate whether the laser diffraction, whatever data we are getting, is it really three-dimensional? Because it's the indirect method. So we are predicting the particle size. But you're right that in microscopy, we always get a two-dimensional data. And what exactly we are doing is correlating our data with the final result. Let's say if we are doing the dissolution testing, so you have to fix one method by which you can correlate, you can understand your particle better. Why with this particle size or shape which is coming through, let's say microscopic analysis, I'm getting dissolution profile like this. So if you are able to correlate that, that should be good enough. But when you are trying to correlate data between two different technologies, there can be challenges. If the particle is spherical, it will always match. But if it is a non-spherical particle, there are chances that you don't get same results in microscopy as well as in laser diffraction technology. Generally, what I have seen because we have we face this question with every customer, and we have to show that this is correlating with the laser diffraction, because in their SOP they have always mentioned that it is to be done by laser diffraction. So what we have seen most of the time is when you are doing because in microscopy I can do the size distribution in terms of ferret's maximum diameter or minimum diameter or circular equivalent diameter. So if I take circular equivalent diameter as my size and do the particle size distribution, generally it matches with laser diffraction. Having said that, D10 value generally doesn't match because laser diffraction tend to capture a lot of smaller particles, which sometimes are not really particles. And that's where D10 value is slightly, but D50 value generally matches. D90 value, if you are doing the volumetric distribution, because laser diffraction is doing volumetric distribution. And if I try to do volumetric distribution using microscopy data, you have to generate enough number of particles to give the good volumetric histogram for that. Then only it matches. But D50 generally, I've seen that you are able to get a good amount of correlation. I hope this makes some.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. In fact, when I talk or hear about your technology of microscopy, then I also quoted back to what Mr. Vijay Shethsagar spoke about the intrinsic dissolution and the studies over there. So there's so much of connectivity with all these things. And again, going back to what Dr. Diari also said about the hydrodynamics. So all this so very seamlessly interconnects to each other, and having these things understood in a better manner, we'll have a better understanding on the technology of dissolution, and we'll be able to handle this analysis in a much better manner. One last question to Dr. Muir. It's good to see Mettler and Sodex coming on the same workshop platform to address the technology that they're going to bring in. I think this is what we as people in the industry really want, because when we buy instruments, when we buy these softwares, there's always a disconnect. And when you want to bring in instruments together, we find that there is no compatibility between the two softwares. Now, if that compatibility comes in, I think our decisions to buy instruments become very easy, because if I buy a, say, SOTEX resolution, will it be compatible with Mettler? Somebody will say yes, sometimes it will say no. And if the instrument companies come together, they have a common platform of software compatibility. I think that becomes a quite easy thing for us, rather than we trying to run after the instrument companies to make it happen. And as you know that the Microsoft is also trying to upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 10. You can imagine how much problem we face when we are working on some legacy software, and they cannot handle the software and the upgradations. And it's a huge amount of issue we have, that our backend softwares are getting upgraded, but the softwares of the instruments are not upgraded to the same extent and with the same speed. So this is something that is a big issue for us. And again, it goes back to what Dr. Juan said about the data integrity and the DI issues. So this is something that will continue to really bother us, and we want the instrument companies to come together for the benefit of the pharmaceutical companies. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Just to add a little bit here, Rajiv, if you give me a couple of seconds, Dr. Ramaswamy. SOTEX actually is developing a customized software solution for me over here as a replacement for the ChemStation software. That will be in collaboration with the QDoc they have in their system, and the software will actually work on any dissolution bath. So it's a very unique project that's going on in collaboration with us at this moment with SOTEX. The similar then will be very useful, Sandeep, if you guys also can look into it, because microscope, you can provide the software, but the microscopes coming from different companies, and each one will have their own specification requirements. So if you can please look into that, that's a very good suggestion Raju has made here.
That's a very nice, valid point. And that's where what we have done is we have created a platform which is independent of make or model of microscope. It can fit with any microscope and you get the same kind of result. And of course, another study, what you said is also Dr. Samir has got my instrument in his lab, and we are doing some studies over there also. So we are trying to see how we can correlate various things and get everything in one platform.
Okay, great.
Just to add, what Raju said is right, and that is the reason you will find SOTEX globally working with Waters for HPLC or UPLC, which can be connected online with our instrument automation instruments, and for UV we have Mettler. So this should solve. When we give a total solution, then the customer or the user will find it easy that to operate the system. Basically, dissolution is connected either with an HPLC or UV, and both now we are giving together. Yeah, thanks. Back to Dr. Prasad.
Well, other than that, I didn't really see too many questions, because I think most of the questions that I have seen on the panel here are addressed either during the presentation, or when we were asking, both Rajiv and I was asking those questions. However, there is one question that somebody wanted to know is they were asking about, where did I lose it? They were asking about the technique, and they were talking about some, where is it? What about the other techniques like particle size by laser diffraction, Malvern and Malvern 2000 and Malvern 3000? Nikita Mane is asking this question. So to answer this question, and Sandeep can add to it, I would just say that this is just based on the laser diffraction technique. Malvern is a manufacturer of the instrument. So it doesn't matter whether you are buying Malvern 2000 or 3000, as long as you keep in mind that you want to do this particle size measurement by the LSD, laser diffraction technique, then you are good.
Yeah, you're right. And that's the confusion happened because when Malvern launched 3000, probably people were not able to correlate the data with results of 2000, then 3000. They have made a lot of improvements in that, but people try to correlate with old data, and that's where microscopy comes into picture, where you can see each and every particle in front of your eyes, and there's a diffraction box where you just the sample and get
Yeah.
results.
All right.
So Sandeep,
with that,
Sandeep, you're right that in most of the cases, when I have issues with the particle size analysis in my APR formulation, my best way to restore the investigation is only with microscopic analysis. Malvern will not come to my rescue, and that is something that is always one of the biggest help that I get from the microscopy studies, because this is something what I see is it's there in front of my eyes. Okay, as a photograph, as an image, as a morphology. So that's how it helps me. Yeah. So I cannot really ignore that technique. Definitely. Thank you so much.
I feel Samir wants to share something.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. I just wanted to add on top of that, because as mentioned by Sandeep, we are using their system since a year and a half now, because we established since a long time already a correlation between particles size and dissolution, and that's already demonstrated, etc. And now we are going further with particle shape, because one of the drawbacks of laser diffraction is you are measuring your particles, but it is all based on the assumptions that all particles are perfect spheres, while we know that we have sometimes needles, sometimes non-spherical particles, and the laser diffraction will consider all of them as spheres. Microscopes gives you a better view on the particle shape, and we know already that processability of powders, flowability, etc., is strongly affected by the particle shape. Now we are working with the image provision system to see if there is a correlation between particle shape and dissolution. And for that, we use it quite frequently with for injectable suspensions. And I just informed Sandeep before the conference that we ended with a method which is now fully validated, and it's part of an ANDA for the US market using the image provision data, and the software has been validated also. You were talking about data integrity. That was also a first step before going further with generating acceptable data for the agency. So, but this is really we are still at the early stages, but we are progressing on that stage. That was
Dr. Samir. That's a great news. I mean, that will be a very good case for us. In fact, almost 25 of our customers have submitted ANDA with our data, and 2 of our customers are using it for COVID vaccine research as well, and they've submitted data using our system for US FDA approval. Hopefully, we should get there. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, now we can say that we are very difficult to come to an end of any such good 3 days of a great conference. No, yesterday somebody